Let's move on to another region of the world that is also facing a good amount of police violence and militarization, Israel, Palestine. So not everyone is in agreement that Joe Biden has done a bang up job when it comes to settling the conflict in Israel, Palestine for the time being. Even though he wants credit, a group of more than 500 Biden staffer or campaign and Democratic Party staffers are calling on the White House to do more to support Palestinian rights and hold the Israeli government accountable for what they say are human rights violations following the 11 days of conflict in Israel and Palestine. Addressed to the president, the letter explains, quote, the very same values that motivated us to work countless hours to elect you demand that we speak out in the aftermath of the recent explosive violence in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories, which is inextricable from the ongoing history of occupation, blockade, and settlement expansion. Well, okay. I want to read a little bit more. The letter continues and says, we commend your efforts to broker a ceasefire, yet we also cannot unsee the horrific violence that unfolded in the weeks in Israel, Palestine, and we implore you to continue using your power of your office to hold Israel accountable for its actions and lay the groundwork for justice and lasting peace. The signatures on the letter to Biden included 10 members of his 2020 campaign's national headquarters staff, 8 members of the Democratic National Committee staff during the race, but most of the signers work in states where Biden won the presidency and worked for the Biden campaign. Dr. Richey, what do you make of this pretty bold move from these 500 former campaign staffers?
I used to be a campaign staffer years ago. I'm proud of them, because they publicly affixed their name on something they believed in that challenged the establishment that's contrary to their values. The earlier you learn how to do that, the better you will be able to lead. I am proud of all 500 of these staffers. Let me talk about Joe Biden. Joe Biden has a soul. Let's be clear. Joe Biden is not Donald Trump. Donald Trump has no soul. He's a horrible person. We all know that. Biden has a soul. But Biden is also steeped in traditionalism, institutional politics. He's friends with people that are contrary to policy that would help our communities. This is Joe Biden. This is the kind of political creature he is. Yeah. But he has moments. He has moments where we have seen him change his mind about things. And I don't care if he's changing his mind because it comes from his heart. But we have seen him change his mind. I'm hoping this gets to him. And we know a lot of Democrats are lobbying him. We have progressives that have already spoke out against him publicly. Joe Biden has been an utter failure in this era as it relates to Israel and the Palestinians. Yeah, Netanyahu is weak in Israel. He has a brokered government. He's not consolidated, missed the deadline just a few weeks ago, even weaker than ever before. He's still the longest serving prime minister in Israel's history, but he's a weak leader. And because of his weakness, it has made him connect to the more extreme conservative elements of the Israeli political movement because they give him cover. They say yes to all of this aggression, violence, and killing of Palestinians and Palestinian children and the elderly and others. This is a real political nightmare. And if Biden does not figure out that he's leading in this century and not in the 90s, we're gonna have more problems. And he's deflating people's willingness to support him in any re-election. He's hurting Kamala Harris or whoever else wants to run for president one day because she's connected to this. It's a nightmare, and I hope he gets it together.
I think that's a really good point about remembering that it's not the 90s. Man, he's been in office for so long. He's been in and out of power. He forgets. But yeah, this is not. Look, it is not. It is very clear, especially to Americans and especially to young American Jews, that the state of Israel is not representing them, that the state of Israel is also not interested in a two-state solution. They're interested in slow, but methodical ethnic cleansing. They are not interested in any kind of peace process. Most experts will tell you the peace process is dead. The peace process is a non-starter. And Israeli prime ministers past themselves have called this situation apartheid. Not in a negative way, in a positive way. Like, no, we mean to cluster people into, Bantustan, sort of ghettos. And so the other thing is like Biden said, and I mean, we've heard him say, I am a Zionist. I completely believe in the state of Israel. I mean, you can believe in it, but that I am for this project, right? This project of ever expansion. So I feel like he is completely behind the times. And when it comes to that mandate, Dr. Richey, that you talked about, I think this is one of them. And seeing 500 of his staffers say, look, we gotta do better in the year 2021, when you see the amount of human rights abuses coming from one side, a world-class, armed to the teeth military, thanks to the United States, that has been bludgeoning a defenseless population in large part. Like, you gotta do better than this. I just wanna finish with something more that they said. Former staffers say they urge US leaders to join our international allies in calling for an end to Israeli violations of international law, or at minimum, stop obstructing efforts to the United Nations to do so and ensure US aid no longer funds the imprisonment and torture of Palestinian children, theft and demolition of Palestinian homes and property, and annexation of Palestinian land. That is not wishy-washy. Like, that language is very specific. These are staffers who know what they're talking about. They're not just this is not a blanket statement of like, both sides and like maybe just give a little more, love to the Palestinian side. It's like, no, here are the things you need to do. You need to stop, because the US has been running cover for Israel in the United Nations for decades now.
Yeah, and some of these staffers are policy experts, and that's why they were part of the campaign. So they are very familiar with the ins and outs of this. And then America, just think about how deep it goes. This is beyond this neutral statement on Twitter from President Biden. They are actually engaged in back channel diplomatic conversations in order to stop the United Nations from having a coalition of nations talk up against Israel. Now, why is that important? Can the United Nations really do anything? No, they're not going to send in some occupying military to do something. But what they can do is they can swiftly shift the narrative, the public relations narrative of Israel across the planet. And that's the reason why America is jumping in. Because America knows if that happens, if the United Nations, they come in and there's a great humanitarian effort, and we're talking about through public sentiment, that says what Israel is doing is wrong, it is evil, and is creating chaos and murder, America would then be forced to make a decision on a global scale. America isn't lobbying for the UN to not do this for the sake of Israel. They're doing it for the sake of themselves.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.